What if the secrets you keep to maintain peace in your home are the very things that could tear it apart? This question loomed in Clara's mind as she stood in her kitchen, the familiar scent of freshly baked cookies filling the air. It was a typical Saturday afternoon in Maplewood, a picturesque suburban neighborhood where the houses were neatly lined and manicured lawns glistened under the warm sun. Clara, a devoted housewife, had mastered the art of balancing her family's needs with her own quiet frustrations, but today felt different. Today, the weight of her unspoken thoughts pressed heavily against her chest. Clara glanced at the clock on the wall, its ticking sound echoing the rhythm of her life, a constant reminder of the routine she had embraced for years. Ethan, her husband, would be home soon from work, and their two children, Lily and Max, were upstairs playing. She smiled at the thought of their laughter, but beneath that smile lay a growing sense of discontent. She had always prided herself on being the perfect wife and mother, but lately the roles felt less fulfilling and more like a cage. As she whisked the batter for the cookies, her mind wandered to a conversation she had with her best friend, Jenna, just a few days prior. They had met for coffee, and while sipping their drinks, Jenna had asked Clara how she was genuinely feeling. Clara had brushed off the question, offering the usual responses about staying busy and loving her family. But deep down, a part of her yearned to express the frustration that had been building inside her. It was a feeling she couldn't quite articulate, a nagging sense that she was missing something vital in her life. Clara set the bowl aside and wiped her hands on a kitchen towel, stealing a moment to gaze out the window. The vibrant colors of the garden outside seemed to mock her current mood. She longed for adventure, for experiences beyond the confines of her home. But the responsibilities of motherhood and the expectations of being a perfect housewife loomed large. She often found herself questioning if this was all there was to life. Just then, her phone buzzed on the countertop, snapping her out of her reverie. It was a voice message from Jenna, and Clara quickly pressed play. Jenna's voice echoed through the kitchen, filled with enthusiasm. "Clara, you have to come out with me next weekend. There's this art fair downtown, and I know you've been wanting to get back into painting. It'll be fun. Let's do something for ourselves." Clara's heart raced at the thought. She hadn't picked up a paintbrush in years, but the idea of rekindling that passion ignited a flicker of excitement within her. But then, like a sudden storm cloud, doubt crept in. Could she really leave the kids? What would Ethan think? The internal struggle was palpable, and she quickly pushed the thought away, returning to her baking. As the smell of cookies wafted through the air, Clara's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text from Ethan saying he was on his way home. She could feel the familiar rush of adrenaline. Her heart quickened, and her palms grew sweaty. She wanted to make a good impression, to present the ideal version of herself that Ethan had come to expect. But deep down, she felt a rising tide of emotions that she had kept suppressed for too long. After putting the cookies in the oven, Clara decided to call Jenna back. She needed to vent, to let out the feelings she had kept bottled up. "Hey, Jenna, I'm so glad you called. I've been thinking about what you said, about that art fair. I'm not sure if I can go, though. It's just so hard to leave the kids. And Ethan's been so stressed lately." Jenna's voice was a soothing balm. "Clara, you deserve this. You've been so focused on everyone else. It's time to do something for yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup, you know." Clara nodded, even though Jenna couldn't see her. "You're right. It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm losing myself in all this. I love my family, but I miss who I used to be." "Then let's make a plan. Just think about it," Jenna encouraged, her voice filled with warmth and enthusiasm. They chatted for a bit longer, and Clara felt a sense of relief wash over her. But as the conversation ended, she was left alone with her thoughts once again. Moments later, the sound of the front door opening jolted her back to reality. Ethan entered, his presence filling the space with a mix of warmth and familiarity. "Hey, babe, I'm home," he called, his voice brightening the room. Clara turned to greet him, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Hey, how was work?" she asked, trying to sound cheerful as she wiped her hands on her apron. Busy as always. Same old, he replied, setting his briefcase down. As he walked toward her, she noticed the weariness etched on his face, dark circles under his eyes, a hint of stress in his posture. She wanted to ask him how he was really doing, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she offered him a cookie, hoping to lighten the mood. Fresh out of the oven, she said, trying to inject some enthusiasm into her voice. Ethan smiled, taking a bite. Delicious as always, Clara. You spoil me, he said, leaning in to kiss her cheek. For a moment, everything felt right. They were a team, partners in this chaotic life. But she couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. As they settled into their evening routine, Clara found herself lost in thought, reflecting on her conversation with Jenna. She wanted to be brave, to voice her feelings to Ethan, but the fear of disrupting the fragile peace in their home held her back. What if he didn't understand? What if he felt overwhelmed by her struggles? Before long, the kids came barreling down the stairs, their energy infectious. They were full of stories about their day, and Clara found herself laughing and engaging, but the laughter felt bittersweet. Even amidst the joy of family life, she felt a growing sense of isolation, a longing for connection that went beyond the surface. After dinner, as the kids played in the living room, Clara retreated to the kitchen to tidy up. She felt an urge to reach out to Jenna again, to express everything she hadn't been able to say. With her phone in hand, she recorded a voice message, pouring her heart out without holding back. Jenna, I just feel so lost sometimes. I love being a mom, but I miss feeling like myself. I wish I could just talk to Ethan about it, but it's like there's this wall between us. I don't want to burden him. I just want to be happy again. But in a moment of distraction, Clara accidentally sent the message to Ethan instead. Realizing her mistake, horror washed over her. Her heart raced as she anticipated his reaction, knowing that she had just exposed her most vulnerable thoughts, the very feelings she had been afraid to share. The seconds felt like hours as she waited for his response, her mind racing with possibilities. Would he be angry? Confused? Or would he finally understand the turmoil she had been hiding? As the silence stretched on, she felt a knot tightening in her stomach, a mixture of anxiety and dread. Finally, her phone buzzed, and she saw Ethan's name light up on the screen. Clara's heart sank as she realized she had opened Pandora's box. The carefully curated facade of their life was about to unravel, and she was terrified of what that would mean for their marriage. Just then, she heard Ethan's footsteps approaching the kitchen. He paused at the entrance, his expression unreadable. The tension hung thick in the air, palpable and suffocating. "Clara, we need to talk." Clara's pulse quickened, her heart pounding in her chest as uncertainty loomed over her. The moment she had dreaded had arrived, and with it came the realization that her hidden struggles were no longer hidden. What would happen next? Would this be the moment of reckoning that allowed them to confront their issues, or would it lead to a deeper divide between them? Clara braced herself for the conversation that could change everything, knowing that the voice message she never meant for him to hear had set the stage for a confrontation that would unravel the complexities of their marriage. Clara felt her breath hitch in her throat as Ethan stepped further into the kitchen, an uncharacteristic weight to his presence. The soft hum of the refrigerator seemed to amplify the silence that enveloped them. She could see the familiar lines of concern etched on his forehead, and the way his fingers fidgeted with the hem of his shirt hinted at his inner turmoil. This wasn't just a casual conversation. It was the moment of reckoning she had dreaded since that voice message had slipped from her lips. "Clara, we need to talk," he repeated, his voice steady but tinged with an undertone of vulnerability that tugged at her heart. She nodded, forcing herself to meet his gaze, even as her mind raced with the implications of their conversation. "About the message," he added, his tone shifting slightly, an emphasis on the word that sent a chill down her spine. She had imagined this moment countless times, each version more dramatic than the last, yet nothing could prepare her for the reality of facing Ethan now. There was no turning back. "Ethan! she started, but her words faltered. How could she possibly explain the whirlwind of emotions that had driven her to express her frustrations in a moment of weakness? The truth was, she had been feeling trapped in a life that seemed to revolve around everyone but herself. The laundry, the meals, the endless cycle of routine. It was suffocating. Yet, here was her husband, a man she loved, standing before her, waiting for her to unravel the layers that had built up over the years. "Please let me finish," he interjected gently, his expression softening. "I listened to it, Clara. I heard everything you said." His eyes darkened slightly, revealing the hurt that lay beneath the surface. "You feel unappreciated, like you're just a housewife who's lost herself in all of this." He gestured around the kitchen, and Clara couldn't help but feel the weight of his words settle heavily in the air. They were true, but how could she articulate that without sounding like she was blaming him? "Ethan, I didn't mean for you to hear that," she finally managed, her voice trembling slightly. "It was a moment of frustration, a slip of the tongue. You know how busy things have been." She felt the familiar pang of guilt rise within her, the instinct to protect him from her discontent. But as she looked into his eyes, she realized this was not about blame. This was about honesty. He crossed his arms, a defensive gesture that made the space between them feel even wider. "I get that life is overwhelming, I really do, but I think we need to talk about why you feel this way. I want to understand, Clara." His voice softened, and for a moment, she saw the man she married, the one who had always encouraged her to share her thoughts, to be open, to communicate. Taking a deep breath, Clara felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crack. "It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm drowning in this perfect little bubble we've created. I love our home, Ethan, I do. But I also feel like I've lost a part of myself in the process." She stepped closer, her heart racing with the vulnerability she was exposing. "I feel like I'm just going through the motions, and in trying to be the perfect housewife, I've neglected my own dreams and desires." Ethan's expression shifted, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "You're not alone in this, Clara. I've been feeling the weight of everything too. Work has been stressful, and I often wonder if I'm doing enough for us. I thought by providing, I was supporting you, but I didn't realize how isolated you felt." His honesty struck a chord within her, and for the first time in a long while, Clara felt a flicker of hope. "Ethan, I didn't want to burden you with my feelings. I thought I could handle it," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I realize now that I can't do this alone. I need your support. I need us to be a team again." He nodded slowly, his eyes searching hers for understanding. "We can be a team, Clara, but we have to be honest with each other. No more hiding our feelings, no more pretending everything is okay when it's not. We need to face this together." The sincerity in his words made her heart swell with gratitude. Maybe this was the turning point they needed. As the tension began to dissipate, Clara felt a warmth spreading through her chest, allowing her to let down her guard. "I want to find a way to balance everything, to rediscover who I am outside of being a housewife. I want to take art classes again, to paint like I used to. I miss that part of me," she confessed, her eyes brightening at the thought. Ethan's face lit up with a smile, the shift in their dynamic palpable. "That sounds amazing. You should definitely do it. I'll help however I can, and I'd love to support you in pursuing your passions again." He took a step closer, closing the distance between them, and Clara felt a rush of relief wash over her. "But what about you?" she asked, concern creeping back into her voice. "I don't want to be selfish. Your work has been demanding, and I know it hasn't been easy for you either. I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm ready to talk about my feelings too," he replied earnestly. "I don't want to just be the provider. I want to be your partner. Let's make time for each other, to really connect." Clara felt a swell of hope rising within her. They were finally opening up, shedding the layers of resentment that had built up over time. Yet, as they stood together in the kitchen, the atmosphere shifted again when she thought about the implications of what lay ahead. Would they be able to keep this momentum going once the initial conversation wore off? Can we set aside some time every week to check in with each other? She suggested, her voice steadying. I think it would help us stay connected, to avoid misunderstandings like this in the future. Ethan considered her words, nodding thoughtfully. I think that's a great idea. We can make it a date night or something casual, just to talk about what's on our minds. No distractions, just us. Clara felt a smile creep across her face, the idea of reconnecting with him bringing a lightness to her heart. As they began brainstorming potential activities for their date nights, Clara felt the tension lift further. They discussed everything from trying new restaurants to taking long walks together, even planning weekend getaways. Each suggestion brought about a renewed sense of excitement, and Clara couldn't help but feel more alive than she had in months. But as they spoke, Clara's mind drifted back to the voice message. She realized that while this conversation was vital, there were still underlying feelings she needed to address. Feelings that had been simmering beneath the surface for far too long. She had to confront the reality of her discontent, not just for her sake, but for Ethan's as well. Ethan, there's something else I need to share, she said, her tone shifting slightly as she prepared to broach a more sensitive topic. I've been feeling pressure to be the perfect housewife, to maintain this image of having it all together. I thought that's what you wanted, but I realize now that it's been suffocating me. He listened intently, his expression serious. I never wanted you to feel like that, Clara. I want you to feel free to be yourself. His words were like balm to her soul, but she knew it would take more than verbal reassurances to heal the wounds she had been harboring. I think part of me thought that if I could just keep everything perfect, then we'd be happy, she continued, her voice trembling slightly. But it's not true. I can't keep pretending that I'm okay when I'm not. I've been so wrapped up in this role that I've lost sight of my own happiness. Ethan's brow furrowed as he absorbed her words. I'm so sorry you felt that way. I want you to be happy, Clara. That's what matters to me. She could see his sincerity, and it made her heart ache. I know you do. But I think we've both been so focused on our roles that we've lost sight of each other. I want to feel like a partner to you, not just someone who manages the house. His eyes softened, and she could see his own realization dawning. We can work on that. I want to be more present, to be a better husband. We can do this together. The warmth of their newfound understanding wrapped around them like a comforting blanket. Clara felt lighter, as if the weight of the world had been lifted from her shoulders. Yet she knew that this was just the beginning. They stood together in the kitchen, the familiar scent of dinner wafting through the air, but now it felt different. It was no longer just a routine. It was a shared experience, a moment of connection that they would need to nurture moving forward. As they began to clean up the remnants of dinner, Clara sensed a shift in their dynamic. The laughter that bubbled between them, the playful banter about who would load the dishwasher better. It felt natural and effortless. She couldn't remember the last time they had shared such lightness. But beneath the surface, Clara knew they still had work to do. The voice message had been a catalyst, igniting conversations that had been long overdue. As they finished tidying up, she felt a surge of determination. They would navigate this journey together, one step at a time, and she was ready to embrace the changes that lay ahead. Thank you for listening, Ethan, she said softly, her heart full. I'm excited about what's to come. I really believe we can make this work. Me too, Clara, he replied, his eyes shining with sincerity. Let's make it happen. As they stood side by side, Clara felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. This was not just about confronting the past, but about building a future together. One where both of them could thrive as individuals and as a couple. But as the evening wore on, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that while they had made significant strides, there were still more truths to unravel. The journey to rediscovering themselves and each other was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, no matter how challenging it might be. But one thought lingered in her mind. Would they truly be able to navigate the complexities of their emotions, Or would the shadows of their past threaten to creep back in? Only time would tell as they embarked on this new chapter together, one filled with the promise of growth, understanding, and love. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting warm golden hues across the living room, Clara felt a whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. They had just shared their truths, peeling back layers of unspoken pain and unrealized dreams. Yet she sensed that this was merely the beginning of a more profound exploration, an unraveling of the tapestry of their relationship that had become frayed over the years. The weight of their revelations hung in the air, creating an atmosphere thick with both tension and possibility. Ethan, seated across from her, wore a contemplative expression. His brow was furrowed, and Clara could see the gears turning in his mind as he processed everything they had shared. She recalled the raw vulnerability in his voice when he admitted how overwhelmed he felt, juggling the demands of work and family life. It was a moment of connection that had ignited something within her, a flicker of hope that perhaps they could navigate the complexities of their marriage together. "Clara," Ethan finally spoke, breaking the silence that had enveloped them. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about how we've both been holding back. I didn't realize how much I was just going through the motions, trying to keep everything afloat without really being present. I want to change that." His honesty washed over Clara like a balm, soothing the raw edges of her heart. "I want that too, Ethan. I want us to be truly present with each other, to understand each other's struggles and celebrate each other's victories." As they shared this moment of clarity, Clara felt a swell of gratitude for their willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths that had long been buried. The walls they had built around themselves began to feel less like protection and more like a prison. She realized that being open and vulnerable was not a sign of weakness, but a stepping stone toward a deeper connection. Yet, even amidst this newfound understanding, Clara couldn't shake the lingering apprehension. What if this was just a fleeting moment of clarity? What if they fell back into the same patterns of miscommunication and resentment? Would they truly be able to navigate the emotional complexities that lay ahead? The questions loomed like shadows, threatening to obscure the light of their progress. In the days that followed, Clara and Ethan made a conscious effort to communicate more openly. They carved out time after dinner to sit together, sipping cups of tea while discussing their days. They shared not just the mundane details of their routines, but also their hopes and fears. Clara found herself letting go of the guilt that had shackled her for so long, and in turn, Ethan began to express his appreciation for the efforts she put into managing their household. But as they embraced this new dynamic, Clara also felt the weight of external expectations pressing down on her. The societal narrative of the perfect housewife loomed large in her mind. She often found herself comparing her life to the curated images of domestic bliss showcased on social media. It was a constant reminder of the ideal she was supposed to embody, and the pressure to conform was suffocating. One evening, as Clara scrolled through her phone, she stumbled upon a post from a friend who had just hosted a lavish dinner party. The photos depicted an immaculate home, tantalizing dishes, and smiling guests, all seemingly enjoying a picture-perfect evening. A pang of inadequacy shot through her. "Why can't I do that?" she thought, feeling the familiar tug of self-doubt. "Hey, what's on your mind?" Ethan asked, noticing her distraction. He had grown attuned to her moods, and he was quick to check in whenever he sensed a shift in her demeanor. Clara hesitated for a moment before confessing, "I just saw a post from Sarah. She hosted this incredible dinner party, and I can't help but feel like I'm failing in comparison. I just want to be that kind of wife, you know?" Ethan's expression shifted from concern to determination. "Clara, you are an amazing wife. You do so much for our family every single day. I don't need fancy dinners or perfectly curated events. I need you, your presence, your laughter, and your love." His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, reminding her that their relationship was built on authenticity, not perfection. "I know, but it's hard not to feel the pressure to live up to those expectations." "I get it," Ethan replied, his voice steady. "But we don't have to play that game. We can create our own version of happiness, one that fits us." Let's focus on what makes us happy together, not what we think we're supposed to do." Clara nodded, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. It was a reminder that their journey was uniquely theirs, free from the constraints of societal norms. As they continued to navigate their evolving relationship, she began to prioritize her own needs and aspirations alongside her family's. One afternoon, while browsing through a local community center's website, Clara stumbled upon an art class. The description spoke to her longing for self-expression, for a space to explore her creativity without judgment. She hesitated at first, grappling with the thought of carving out time for herself amidst her busy schedule. But Ethan's words echoed in her mind, urging her to embrace her passions. With newfound determination, Clara enrolled in the class, excited yet nervous about stepping into this new chapter. When she shared the news with Ethan, his eyes lit up with genuine enthusiasm. "That's amazing, Clara. I'm so proud of you for taking this step. You deserve to do something that brings you joy." The first day of class arrived, and Clara felt a mix of excitement and apprehension as she walked into the studio. The walls were adorned with vibrant artwork, and the air buzzed with creativity. As she settled into her seat, she met other women who shared their own stories of rediscovery. There was Lisa, a mother of 3 who had taken up painting after years of putting her dreams on hold. And then there was Mia, a young woman pursuing art as a form of therapy after overcoming personal struggles. In this supportive environment, Clara found herself slowly shedding the layers of doubt that had accumulated over the years. The act of creating art became a form of therapy, allowing her to express emotions she had long kept bottled up. With each brushstroke, she felt a sense of liberation, a connection to her true self that had been obscured for too long. As the weeks progressed, Clara began to share her artwork with Ethan. He was captivated by her creations, marveling at the depth of emotion she captured on canvas. "You have such a gift, Clara. I never realized how talented you are," he remarked one evening, his admiration evident in his voice. "Thank you, Ethan. It feels good to finally express myself," Clara replied, her heart swelling with pride. "I've been rediscovering who I am outside of being a wife and mother, and it's empowering." Their conversations shifted from mere daily routines to discussions about dreams, aspirations, and personal growth. Clara found herself opening up about her fears and insecurities, and Ethan, in turn, began to share more about his own challenges at work. They began to view each other as partners in growth, rather than as individuals confined by roles and expectations. But even as Clara flourished in her newfound passion, shadows of doubt occasionally crept back in. One night, after a particularly challenging day, Clara sat on the couch, feeling overwhelmed by the weight of her responsibilities. The demands of family life intertwined with her longing for creative expression, leaving her feeling stretched thin. "Ethan, I don't know how to balance everything," she confessed, her voice laced with vulnerability. "I want to pursue my art, but I also want to be present for you and the kids. Sometimes it feels like I'm failing at both." Ethan reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You're not failing, Clara. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. We're in this together, and we'll figure it out as a team. Let's create a schedule that allows you to have time for your art while also being there for the kids and me." His support lifted a weight off her shoulders, and Clara realized that this journey toward balance didn't have to be a solitary one. Together, they could navigate the complexities of their lives while encouraging each other to pursue their passions. As they implemented their new routine, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. She set aside dedicated time for her art, ensuring that it became a non-negotiable part of her week. In doing so, she discovered that nurturing her creativity allowed her to be more present and engaged in her family life. The joy she found in painting spilled over into her interactions with Ethan and the kids, creating a ripple effect of positivity. One evening, Clara and Ethan sat down to reflect on their journey. "I can't believe how far we've come," she remarked, a smile spreading across her face. "It feels like we're finally learning to communicate and support each other in a way that we never did before." Ethan nodded, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. "It's incredible, isn't it? I feel like we're growing together instead of apart. I want to continue this journey of exploration with you, Clara." As they nestled into each other on the couch, Clara felt a wave of contentment wash over her. She had taken steps toward rediscovering herself, and in doing so, she had found a deeper connection with Ethan. Yet the shadows of their past still lingered, reminding her that the road ahead wouldn't always be easy. The tension of unspoken truths still hung in the air, waiting to be addressed. Clara knew that they needed to confront the feelings that had been buried beneath layers of routine. Would their newfound understanding hold strong in the face of future challenges? Would they continue to grow together, or would the ghosts of their past threaten to pull them apart once more? As she gazed into Ethan's eyes, she felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. This was not just about confronting the past, but about building a future together, one where both of them could thrive as individuals and as a couple. But as the evening wore on, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that while they had made significant strides, there were still more truths to unravel. The journey to rediscovering themselves and each other was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, no matter how challenging it might be. But one thought lingered in her mind. Would they truly be able to navigate the complexities of their emotions, or would the shadows of their past threaten to creep back in? Only time would tell as they embarked on this new chapter together, one filled with the promise of growth, understanding, and love. As Clara sat across from Ethan, the weight of their earlier conversation hung in the air, a palpable mix of hope and uncertainty. She could see the flicker of comprehension in his eyes, a recognition that they were both grappling with the same feelings of isolation despite sharing a life together. Yet, even as they began to uncover layers of their emotions, Clara felt a lingering apprehension. Would their newfound openness be enough to bridge the gaps that had formed over the years? The evening unfolded slowly, a dance of tentative words and shared glances. They talked about everything from their dreams, once vibrant and full of color, to the mundane details of daily life that had, over time, turned into a monotonous routine. Clara spoke about her painting class, the thrill she felt when she held the brush for the first time, unleashing colors that had long been hidden in the depths of her being. Ethan listened intently, his expressions shifting from curiosity to admiration as she painted a vivid picture of her experience. "I never realized how much I missed creating," Clara confessed, her voice soft but resolute. "It's like I found a part of myself that had been lost." Ethan nodded, his brow furrowing as he considered her words. "I think we both lost parts of ourselves along the way. I've been so focused on work and providing that I forgot to appreciate the life we've built. It's easy to get caught up in the grind and forget what truly matters." The honesty in his admission struck a chord within Clara, and she felt a surge of gratitude for their willingness to confront the uncomfortable truths of their lives. It was refreshing, almost exhilarating, to delve into the rawness of their emotions. Yet, as their conversation deepened, she couldn't shake the thought that this was just the beginning. They had so much more to uncover, so many more conversations to have. In the days that followed, Clara and Ethan committed to fostering this new rhythm in their relationship. They carved out time for each other, setting aside distractions to simply talk, laugh, and share their dreams again. They discovered the power of vulnerability, and for Clara it was liberating to express her needs without fear of judgment. She no longer felt the need to wear a mask of perfection. She could be authentically herself. Yet, the journey was not without its challenges. Old habits die hard, and there were moments when misunderstandings crept back into their interactions. Clara would sometimes feel overwhelmed by the demands of family life, while Ethan grappled with the pressures of his job. But instead of retreating into silence, they learned to address their feelings head-on. They approached each other with empathy, recognizing that their struggles were intertwined. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Clara felt a wave of contentment wash over her. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, a reminder of the beauty that could emerge from moments of uncertainty. She turned to Ethan, her heart swelling with affection. "You know, I've realized that it's not just about fixing things between us. It's about growing together and supporting each other as we navigate life. Ethan reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. I want that too, Clara. I want us to be partners in every sense of the word, not just in responsibilities but in dreams and aspirations. I've been so focused on what I thought was necessary that I forgot to check in with you about what you wanted. As they shared their hopes and fears, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. She began to make space for her passions and interests, not just as a means of escape, but as a vital part of her identity. She enrolled in more classes, explored new hobbies, and even started a small art group with friends from the neighborhood. It was invigorating to cultivate her creativity and connect with others who shared her passion. Ethan, in turn, began to reassess his work-life balance. He spoke to his boss about reducing his hours and took on projects that aligned more closely with his interests. Their discussions about aspirations led to a deeper understanding of each other's dreams. They began to envision a future together that was not solely dictated by societal expectations, but rather a reflection of their shared values. One afternoon, during a particularly vibrant art class, Clara found herself lost in the process of creating. The strokes of the brush felt liberating, and for the first time in years, she felt a sense of freedom to express herself fully. As she painted, she reflected on the changes that had unfolded in her life. This journey wasn't just about repairing her marriage, it was about rediscovering who she was at her core. When she returned home that evening, Clara found Ethan waiting for her in the living room, a hint of excitement in his demeanor. I have something for you, he said, handing her a small wrapped package. Clara's heart raced as she unwrapped it to find a beautiful sketchbook, its pages blank and inviting. I thought you could use this for your paintings, Ethan said, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. I know how much you love to create, and I want to support you every step of the way. Tears welled in Clara's eyes as she held the sketchbook close to her heart. It was a simple gesture, yet it encapsulated the depth of their journey together. She realized that their commitment to growth was not just about words, it was about actions that spoke volumes. As the weeks turned into months, Clara and Ethan continued to navigate the complexities of their relationship with newfound openness and trust. They learned to celebrate each other's successes, no matter how small, and to lean on one another during challenging times. Their evenings were filled with laughter, deep conversations, and moments of connection that they had long thought were lost. One day, while Clara was preparing dinner, she received a message from her friend Lisa, who had been a steadfast supporter throughout her journey. Hey, I've been meaning to tell you how proud I am of you. You've come such a long way, and I can see how happy you are. Let's catch up soon. Clara smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude for the people in her life who had encouraged her to embrace her true self. She realized that this journey was not just about her and Ethan, it was about building a supportive community that uplifted one another. As Clara and Ethan celebrated their anniversary, they found themselves reflecting on how far they had come. They sat together on the porch, the sun setting in the distance, casting a warm glow around them. Clara turned to Ethan, her voice filled with sincerity. Thank you for being my partner in this journey. I've learned so much about myself and about us. I feel like we're finally on the same page. Ethan nodded, his expression serious yet affectionate. It's been a journey, hasn't it? I want us to keep communicating, to keep growing together. I don't want to lose sight of what we've built. The promise of their continued growth hung in the air, a testament to their commitment to one another. Clara felt a sense of peace wash over her as they embraced, knowing that while challenges would always arise, they had the tools to face them together. Months later, Clara found herself in front of her easel, the sketchbook Ethan had gifted her opened and filled with vibrant paintings that reflected her journey. Each stroke of color told a story of heartache, growth, and love. It was a visual representation of the transformation she had undergone, and she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She picked up her phone, her heart racing as she composed a voice message for Ethan. Hey love, I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you. You've been my rock, and I'm so grateful for everything we've built together. I love you more than words can express." As she sent the message, she felt a sense of closure and excitement. This time, her voice was filled with warmth and gratitude, a stark contrast to the earlier message that had sparked their journey. She smiled, knowing that they had both embraced the complexity of their emotions and emerged stronger. The next day, Clara and Ethan went for a walk in the park, hand in hand, enjoying the simple pleasure of each other's company. As they entered a clearing filled with blooming flowers, Ethan paused to take it all in. "You know, it's moments like this that remind me of why we fought for our relationship. It's about cherishing the little things together." Clara nodded, her heart swelling with love. "And about being honest with each other, even when it's hard. I never want to hide my feelings from you again." Ethan smiled, pulling her closer. "Agreed. We're a team, and I wouldn't want it any other way." As they continued their walk, Clara felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the path they had traveled together. Their love was no longer just a routine. It was a vibrant, evolving relationship that celebrated both their individuality and their partnership. In the end, Clara realized that the voice message she never intended for Ethan had been a catalyst for change, igniting a journey of self-discovery and connection. They had faced their vulnerabilities, embraced their truths, and ultimately emerged with a love that was more authentic and fulfilling than ever before. As they strolled through the park, Clara couldn't help but smile at the journey ahead. They had each other, and now they were ready to create a future filled with love, understanding, and endless possibilities. And as the sun set on another beautiful day, Clara knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. A chapter where both of them could thrive as individuals and as partners, in love, laughter, and life. As they walked hand in hand, Clara felt lighter, freer, and ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, knowing that together they could conquer anything. And with that thought, she silently promised herself to always cherish the voice within her, the one that had finally learned to speak its truth. In closing, Clara's journey serves as a reminder to all of us. The path to understanding ourselves and our relationships may be fraught with challenges, but it is also filled with the potential for growth, love, and a deeper connection. As she and Ethan continued to build their life together, Clara felt a sense of peace and excitement for the future, one where both of them could flourish. And now, if this story resonated with you, if you've ever faced similar struggles or celebrated similar victories in your own life, we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's continue this conversation together. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. Your journey is important, and we're here to support each other every step of the way. Thank you for being part of our community.